All right, let me show you what I've done so far. Since the last video, I'm working on the carburetor. Now I took the carburetor apart and pretty much took it apart according to the instructions that I got in the carburetor kit. This is a kit that came from corvsoliver.com, and it's a better kit than you buy normally. You can buy some cheap ones. I've already done that, and you don't get near the stuff in it like you get on this one here. You got those, and then you've got an identification chart of all the different numbers that you've got in that diagram we just looked at. Now, if you flip it over, it can show you some adjustments, cleaning, reassembly, and I like the reassembly on here. Reassemble in reverse order of disassembly. Okay, well, I don't remember how I did that, but if you don't remember, well, you got the directions on how to take it apart on the other side. You got special instructions here for the throttle shaft, seal, and retainer installation. We'll have to read those when I get ready to do that. And there's your float setting. Oh, all that stuff's going to come up, but what I did first, what I decided to do first, I decided I'd go ahead and clean it up. So when I took it apart, and I took every little jet and nook and cranny and seal, I bought this out of it, Chem Dip, a long time ago, carburetor parts cleaner. It's come in handy because I've cleaned a lot of stuff with it. You can clean everything with it. Berryman Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner. Don't even know if you can get it anymore, but this is old. It's been around for a long time, and it still works. So I took the complete carburetor, everything off of it, and I set it in that Chem Dip overnight and all the next day today. And then when I came home from work, lo and behold, I took them out, washed them off with water. You hose it off with water because it washes off with water. And then I dried it with, well, I don't have a good, right now I've got a compressor with some air in it, but it's got water in it, and then it'll just shoot water all over it. It was all, anyways, I have me some canned air. There it is right there. Got it from the store. And then I blew everything out, dried everything completely, and then I got me some Rust-Oleum primer. I didn't do that last time, and that carburetor did rusted like crazy on the outside, so I'm going to try and stop that. And I put that Rust-Oleum primer, automotive primer, on it, and on the carburetor, and that's where I'm at right now, and I'm going to retire for the evening. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint the housing of this carburetor with good old Oliver Metal Green 64690, and that's what it looks like after I've painted it. I use that hammer right over there, the handle, to stick it up in the bowl, so I could get at all the good parts on this part here, and then on this one, all I had to do was grab a hold of these threads right here and spin her around, and I can get that real good. There's probably going to be some paint on the gasket part. I'll go ahead and scrape that off, because you can see it laying down there in the paint right now, so there's definitely going to be some on it. Okay, I've got the top and bottom of the body of this carburetor painted. I installed the idle adjustment screw and the float needle seat, and that little piece right down inside of there, they call it economizer jet. The instructions got that in there. They also got another jet in here, but I don't have that carburetor that puts it on there. And they send a plug with the kit, so I got a new plug on there. Down inside I installed the, well, whatever they call it. And they call it a nozzle. And that nozzle is a little bit difficult to get down in there. One of the things you got to remember, this nozzle, when you take it out, there's a washer, and here's the washer right here, that little washer down there. That washer stuck up inside of there, and I had to fish it out with this screwdriver. It's a thin blade screwdriver. Went way down in there, worked and worked and worked, and finally got it. So then I put the new one down in there, and you see the new piece coming out. All right, so that's where we're at so far. Now I installed the power jet on there. Make sure you use a gasket. There is a gasket loose in the kit. A red large gasket. You can put it on. One of the reasons why I'm not showing you me putting it on, because I got to use my cell phone. I can't hold my cell phone and work at the same time. So I'm showing you the aftermath. And it should work. And now I've got the fuel inlet screwed in, facing the back, and the throttle lever, and there's a felt washer that goes in there for a seal. Here's the other one right here. It's felt. It looks white, but it's felt. There's a rubber seal here, and I don't know where it goes to. We're gonna find out where that goes, little darling goes to. And then we've got the inside, we've got the throttle plate itself with new screws that came with the kit. And let's see if we can get in there and take a look and see. The only thing, you've got to move freely, and it does. So there you are. That's what we got so far. At this point, we've installed the choke plate. Now the choke plate is a little bit tricky because, one, it's got a spring-loaded lever. Goodness, it's hard to do this. Sorry. All right, got a spring-loaded lever, and it has to go back to the stop so that if something happens and your cable breaks or something disconnects, you won't be sitting there with the choke wide open or flip-flopping around. So it defaults with the spring to open. The plate, so when you put it in, it's got two screws. It's got a valve on it, and you make sure that that valve is put in this direction, so that so when you do close it off, a little bit of air can go through the plate. Has to have a little bit of air, and so some air will go through and mix with the fuel. Those screws that are in there are brand new screws with lock washers on them. Make sure that they are more than snug. Don't strip them, but make sure they're more than snug, because you don't want to have one of those things coming loose into your engine. Other than that, that looks good. I had to use the old bracket, so I went and got some B12 spray and cleaned it up. If I'd have known that, I would have been more observant. I'd have probably painted it, but I'm not worried about that. So the same thing with the throttle plate as well. Make sure that those screws are better than snug, because you don't want one of those coming loose. You also don't want to strip them. There was a felt washer that went inside there. It's a felt seal went inside, in between the green part and the gold lever there. Also another felt seal went in the bracket, went in between the bracket and the green housing there. It fit in there, so it fits snug against the so the seal fits snug against the shaft. One of the things we got extra in this kit is this washer here, and evidently this rubber washer is meant for a different carburetor. I tried installing that little retainer right there that supposedly, according to the instructions, goes on there over this seal. I couldn't get either one of them to work. So one of the options is to put a felt seal in there. Well, I figured that this is a newer, these parts here are for a newer model. The older model is probably got the felt seal. That's when they were really smart. Okay, so now I'm going to go put the float together. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Alright, I showed you wrong before. This gasket's got to go on there. But the first thing that goes in is this venturi. It doesn't go over here on the base carburetor. It goes down with the big side inside, the large side of that venturi down inside. It sets on a... By the way, this venturi and the float's the only thing that's, and the housing is the only thing that's not going to come with your carburetor kit. See if I can get this started. Use the large side, not the small. The large side goes down inside. Then the gasket goes on top. And then the float goes in place. If I'd have done it right the first time, we'd be okay. Okay, adjusted the float using my dial indicator caliper, set it up for 250 thousandths and measured there on this side and measured on the other side, and got it a 1/4 inch from the 1/4 inch from the surface of the gasket to the top of the float. 1/4 inch down here at the tip before it curves, before it begins to curve. And did that for both sides, and we have very good movement of the needle valve up and down. Got good movement of the needle valve up and down. Nothing sticking, nothing binding. So now we're going to take the bottom, flip it up at the bottom of the body, flip it upside down, put it on there, flip it on there, and we're going to use these new screws that came with the kit to screw it back together. And there you have it. As you see, I have the gasket here on top. The gasket and the bowl went together before I screwed the 4 body screws, front and rear. You see them there. You see one here, right here, another one back here. Before I did that, though, I'm going to make sure that that venturi is good. So down inside, and then I open up the throttle plate. What I want to do, get me a flashlight. And you can see down in there the venturi piece that we were talking about. The large part goes down, the small part goes up, and that small part fits. Before I snug those screws down, took a screwdriver and made sure that it was centered in the bore, like it should be. And as you can maybe see, that venturi, that's the gold piece or brass looking piece, but it's hard to get the flashlight. There we go. Get the flashlight in there to show it to you. All right. So then is when I took and screwed it, tightened up the body, and when I made sure that that venturi wasn't cocked or caught in there wrong. And so you can see the throttle moves freely. And that is what a Marvel Schebler carburetor looks like when it's hooked up to an old rusty tractor. It's about between 60 and 70 years old. Maybe one day I'll get to painting the block and all the other stuff that goes with it. But right now I'm going to start working on the wiring.